Hey, brand builder, Rory Vaden here. Thank you so much for taking the time to check out this interview. As always, it's our honor to provide it to you for free. And wanted to let you know there's no big sales pitch or anything coming at the end. However, if you are someone who is looking to build and monetize your personal brand, we would love to talk to you and get to know you a little bit and hear about some of your dreams and visions and share with you a little bit about what we're up to see if we might be a fit. So if you're interested in a free strategy call with someone from our team, we would love to hear from you. You can do that at brandbuildersgroup.com/podcall, brandbuildersgroup.com/podcall. We hope to talk to you soon. I continue to just be honored at how people that I've admired and been mentored by, over years end up becoming my colleagues and then friends. And I think that's one of the most amazing things about this business and building a personal brand is like, if you are first a student, then you just end up finding your ways to meet amazing people. And that's, who Andy Andrews is to me. I was first a student of his. Andy is incredible. So he has been on national television more than 200 times. He has 25 books that have been translated into 40 different languages. Probably the two biggest bestsellers, one is called The Traveler's Gift, one is called The Noticer. The Traveler's Gift is my favorite. AJ loves The Noticer. AJ also loves The Heart Mender, which is one that you may don't hear as much. It's really, really good. But Andy, as a speaker, has spoken for 4 U.S. presidents. He has coached the Special Operations Command for our country. He's been part of 9 consecutive college national football championship teams in a row. He's been married for over 30 years. And I just, as I think about the people that we wanted on this faculty that you could learn from and go, man, this is somebody who's impacted millions and millions of people. Andy was an obvious choice to have. He also has a new book out. This is worth mentioning. It's called The Bottom of the Pool. And that just came out in June 2019, which shares some of his biggest business secrets that he actually was under contract to not share here until recently. So Andy, thanks for being here, man.
Hey, buddy. I'm honored to be here. And good grief. It's uncomfortable to sit and listen to somebody say that many nice things about you. But I appreciate it. And I'm honored to be here with you.
Well, and I get that, it is kind of always weird to hear someone, but it's also like, wow, you've done so much. And
it's been a long climb to the middle for me. And I hear all these things and I'm like, Rory, dude, will you call my wife? Tell her some of these things.
Well, I remember watching you speak. I saw you twice when I was a kid in my teens and then early 20s. Once was at the National Speakers Association. And I remember just being like, man, this guy's amazing. And
you were there? You were there at that?
Yeah, I was there as a young, at the first, one of my first or second NSA conferences.
Because it's the only one I've ever done, so I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah. So I was there, and I think, I imagine that a lot of the people watching now, they may not, some of them are very established. A lot of them are established. They might be a doctor or a lawyer or a fitness, celebrity or whatever. But in the world of speaking, most of them are watching because they're like, I want to speak. I want to I want to be on those big platforms, inspiring millions of people. But I guess my first question is, what do you think what does it really take to make it in the industry? Let's talk about speaking first, and then we'll talk about writing and all of that. But, you've been around for years speaking, dozens of times every year, some of the world's biggest stages for some of the biggest companies, national football teams. Why do you think you've been able to get to that level and stay at that level for such a long time?
That's a great question. And even the Speakers Bureau said to me one time, they said, most speakers have arcs. They land the plane on the Hudson and then they speak for 3 years, but that story has been told, or they have a specific thing, and that once you cover everybody and then cover everybody twice, it's hard to keep booking you. And they said that I was one of the very few that ever experienced that didn't have an arc, and or a career arc. And I told them, I said, well, the reason is because I'm a nobody. It's easy to have an arc if you have done something, like I have 5 Super Bowl rings or something, but I don't have any Super Bowl rings. I don't have, I don't have any gold medals. I wasn't the hero of some national disaster. I'd never been the CEO of some major company, or I don't have a radio show. I don't have a television show. I'm a dad, and I'm a husband, and I'm a friend, and I'm a, concerned citizen. I'm a buddy, and I have I've developed an expertise over time at noticing things that are valuable to people. And so there are 2 answers to your question. One is, you say, how do you do that and continue to climb and over time and remain relevant? That is the key to remain relevant. We all have authors that we don't read anymore, right? I mean, we have conversations. Sometimes we go, yeah, do you read so-and-so? Yeah, I used to read those books a lot. Oh, you don't now? No. Why not? Well, just kind of got to be the same thing. Oh, okay. And so, a lot of authors and speakers will hit on something, and maybe it's because they are a massive expert in something. Okay. And I have never been a massive expert at anything, but I am hugely dedicated to learning details that are valuable to other people that most people never see. You and I know I have a background in comedy. And, what a comedian does is to notice things that nobody else notices. And then when you bring them up, everybody goes, my gosh, we all do that, don't we? And I mean, that's part of what a comedian does. And so to take that same thought process and put it into creating value for clients and for people and for families and for organizations and for CEOs and for churches and for communities. And so to have inside yourself a passion for learning things that are valuable to others.
Yeah, that's like such a great, I'm typing here my own notes, and I was just like, that is such a great tweetable moment of, it is so simple. Like, so is The Noticer, that The Noticer is such an incredible book. Do you think that book and what ended up being sort of like foreshadowing of your career was just like this, the guy who sees things that everybody sees, but like turns them into lessons and that?
To a great degree. I mean, I even have a thing I do now called the Professional Noticer, and it's like my own thing, but it was a foreshadowing, because Jones, that old man that came into my life years ago when I was living under a pier and in and out of people's garages, this old man, he that's what he called himself. He said, I'm a noticer. And when God was passing out talents, I didn't get the cool ones. I can't run fast. I can't sing great, but I notice little things that make a difference to other people. And I've thought about that for years and years and years and years.
Yeah, decades now. Well, and I the thing I love about it is just there's such an inherent service of that. It's like, it's in the personal brand, I think this is one of the things that's so frustrating to me, is that the personal brand is not about the person. It's about the value they provide to other people. Like, even what you're saying is noticing things that are of value to to others, and just like paying attention to that. And that is an expertise. So I've never thought about that with you before, of like, what is Andy Andrews an expert on? But like, that is your thing. Like, that is what you do so very, very well. So can we talk about the books for a second? Cause so 25, this is your 25th, Bottom of the Pool is your 25th book.
If you say so. I have no idea. I'm sure somebody told you that, but I honestly don't know. So.
How do you write so many books? Like I once heard somebody say, you know, the first book is easy. The first book is easy to write. It's the second book that's hard, because it's like the first book is like your life stories, but then after that is really hard.
It's like a comedian's body of work. If you want to find the funniest albums in a comedian's body of work, go for the first and the third. Skip the second one, because, you know, the comedian has spent his entire life with the material that became that 45 minutes or an hour for that first thing that got him noticed or got her noticed, and that first hour, and people ate it up. And then all the money people came in and said, man, come on, we got to have something to follow up. We ain't got one album out there. Come on, we got to have something to follow it up. And so, you know, spent a whole lifetime gathering the material that everybody loved, and 6 months gathering the material that was not as funny as, you know, but the people who last learn their lesson quickly. Now, you know, I have not been smart in a bunch of ways as a writer, and I'll tell you what those are. Because if you want to just make a ton of money, and that's all you want to do, there's a lot of people that can tell you how to make a ton of money, and a lot of that has to do with what you have to do and what you have to be on a daily and monthly and yearly basis. And I was told right at the beginning of, you know, when The Traveler's Gift hit, you know, that was my first novel, and that was my first book with a major publisher. And I was told right off the bat, you know, okay, we got it. You know, I was signed to a 3-book deal, you know, a book a year. And I quickly realized, how do you do it? How do you do a book a year? I don't know how to do a book a year. And the thing that I didn't understand at the time, but I began to understand, and it kind of got me, I say in trouble, not in trouble, but they were disappointed in me, because I was obviously not going to be one of these guys that pumped out book after book after book, year after year after year after year, and built themselves into this thing where there is a core group of, you know, I don't know, 500,000 or a million people that just buy everything. But for the most part, you know, when you step back and look at it, a lot, and this is not everybody. This is more me. I'm talking about what I figured out I had to do. I did not want to become derivative, and I did not want to. What does that mean? I didn't want to have somebody go, wow, you know, I'm 4 books into Andy Andrews stuff now, and it's kind of the same story,
Mm-hmm.
and it's kind of the same message, just like over and over again. And so I realized I would tell him, I said, I have to learn. I got to be with my kids. I got to be with my family. I got to walk around out there. I'm a relatively young person. I don't know enough to write a book a year unless I continue to do the same thing and put it in a different way. Okay. You want to persist. Let's persist. Okay. And the next book is about perseverance. And the next book is about staying in the game. And it's like, come on, really? I mean, because at some point, the audience or your readers, at some point, people go, well, it's kind of the same thing. And so I said, you know, and so it was to detriment of my career to to not do that. Because I thought, I'm not here just for this one time. These books that I write, I want to write books that last 100 years. I don't want to write books that in 3 years, you read the book and go, well, I know when that was written. Boy, that was written before the internet. Boy, that was written when Britney Spears was huge. Boy, that was written when General Hospital was on the air. I mean, I don't want to write books like that. I want to write books that your grandchildren can pick it up, and unless they look at the date, they don't really know. Now, when was this? And so it has taken me a long time. My writing for years lagged way, or let's put it this way. My writing was trailing my learning. And so because I only learned so much and so fast and was determined not to lap that, I did not want to get my writing ahead of my learning. That it has taken me a while to get to where I really can put out some books now, because I'm connecting dots for people faster than I'm able to put a book out. And and so that's and the other part of it is just being, a detriment to my career, I'm sure, was that I want to do something that's valuable for you. Okay, you and I, Rory, have been around enough people in our lives that are enamored with what they do, and
Sure.
and it's hard not to be in this business, because if people are coming up to you all the time going, "Is your orange juice okay? Are your eggs all right?"
That was something I was going to ask you about too, is like the whole being committed of service to others, when, some people are drawn to this because you have the stage and the lights, and, you if you do a great job, if you do an incredible job, you make an impact and people are so grateful and gracious, is the humility. So just before we move into that, because I do think that's interesting, on this last little part, you were saying what it sounds like to me is like, you have to be a great reader before you can be a great writer. Like, you have to be a good learner before you're a good teacher. And your entire career, like you chose at some point to slow down the release of books so that the learning could be out in front, so that you were always, and that's where you were saying when the writing is lagging behind, it's like it's lagging behind your learning. Lagging behind my learning. Yeah. Love that. Because we have to, because ultimately, in the whole, the book, The Bottom of the Pool, it's all about the thought process. The Bottom of the Pool is not a book where you go, okay, these are the 7 things you got to do, and then you're successful, or, okay, these are the 4 things you do, and then you're all of a sudden it's not that. I told my son the other day, my 19-year-old, I said, buddy, I wrote this book for you and your younger brother, because one day, when I'm gone, the world is obviously changing all the time. Technology changes, everything. And I said, so people will always tell you, this is how you have to do it now, or this is the industry standard. Well, look at best practices. Well, I said, there are always people to tell you how to do whatever. And I said, all they're doing, it may even be a great average, but they're contributing to the average. I said, at some point, you are going to have to learn how to think to a different conclusion than everybody else has come to. And, that is the only way. And if you look at the quotes on the book, I spent a number of years now working with some specific companies and specific teams and stuff to create results
that are just ridiculous. And so if you're a multi-billion-dollar company and you want to double in a year, well, can you find some other multi-billion-dollar company in the mortgage industry like you are that has doubled ever in a year, ever? Okay, well, if you keep thinking like they think, you ain't even got a chance.
Mm-hmm. Like you have to elevate your thinking.
Yeah.
So one of the books,
or in this metaphor, deepen your thinking to the bottom of the pool. Because that name does sound like a horror movie, doesn't it? The bottom of the pool. But it's expand your boundaries and break through some of those stuff to a deeper understanding.
I remember one of the other books that you wrote, which was a short read, but it was, at the time, I have to say it wasn't my favorite. I was like, oh, but since I've been like, man, this book had a huge impact on my life. Was you wrote a book called How Do You Kill 11 Million People? It was about the Jews and the Nazis and all this stuff that was happening. And you go through the whole book. And then it's like, how do you kill 11 million people? How do you kill 11 million people? You lie to them. And that was so simple. And I've been like, wow, people will lie. Like people will lie. Governments will lie. CEOs will lie. Like people will lie. And until you learn to think for yourself, that had such a profound impact. And I think for a personal brand, right? Like, you are the noticer. You are the conduit of great ideas. We have to be the ones that are deepening our thinking, that are not just kind of going with the flow. And so I think, to hear you talk about how you've systematically kind of done that. And so that's what every book is like that. It's a deeper level of thinking. It's a new thing that you notice. I think you use the phrase connect the dots. It's like you see a pattern or a theme, and then you kind of come in and you're like, okay, there's enough instances of this that I'm going to just kind of connect the dots, and that's a book.
Right. And it's curious because, and that's the other thing I was going to say that has probably hurt my career, is you can't find all my books in one place in the bookstore. I wish they would put all the books in the Andy Andrews place or whatever place that is, but you can't find them there because I've had nonfiction, fiction, children's, current events, those different lists.
You have had business. You've even had like business, spiritual, right. You've been all over.
And so it's one of those kind of things where, if you stick to what you do, okay, well, I figured out something pretty valuable with that How to Kill 11 Million People thing. I figured out something that there is something beyond what is true, and that's called the truth. If you go beyond what is true, all the way to the bottom of the pool, you can often find the truth. And the problem in business and in our personal lives is most of us stop with what is true. And why wouldn't you? It's true. It's the answer. It's obvious. That's the right answer. It's true, and it produces results. And you can be in first or second place and still be only dealing with what is true. But if you want to double or triple your results, if you want to get to a different level of thing, you got to go find what is the truth. Now, a quick example is like if you took a blind person and put them in a room and said, we got an animal here, you never heard of it. It's called an elephant. Going to give you a few minutes with it. I want you to tell us what it's like and tell us, how we could use it in society. And after 10 minutes, the blind person may say, excuse me, the blind person may say, well, an elephant's very wide, very tall, flat. You can use them for a gate, several of them for a wall. See, that's true. All that's true. It's not the truth, because until you got to the bottom of the pool about an elephant, you would never have a complete picture of what an elephant's really like or have any idea of the many ways it could be used. And so with the idea that the Nazis lied. Yeah, well, it's true. And everybody knows it's true. Boy, man, they killed 11 million people. They created a world war for everybody. They were liars. They were deceivers. Well, everybody knows it's true. Okay, but the thing that kept bugging me, the thing I kept trying to go to the bottom of the pool on that would have application for us today with our dealing with our families and the organizations and dealing with our own governments. The thing that had application to me was, and it kept bothering me about the Holocaust, is like, how do you kill 11 million people? Now, I'm not saying how do you do it, like what
physically.
Weapons.
Right.
Yeah, weapons. And I'm not saying like how crazy do you have to be to do it, okay? What I'm saying is we've all seen the pictures of the people at the railway stations, thousands of them loading themselves onto cattle cars, and there's a Nazi soldier here with a machine gun, and 10 yards down there's another with a machine gun. What's going on? How do you get these people to load themselves peacefully onto cattle cars week after week, month after month after month until 11 million were killed? Why aren't they running? Why don't they fight? Why don't they rush the guards? Why don't they hide? What's going on? How do you kill 11 million people? And when I found the answer, just like you, I was so stunned, I could not believe it. And that is, you lie to them. You create a policy of lies. And they had four, and you can get the book, I don't have to tell you the whole thing, but they had 4 different directives that were policies about what they would say, how they would lead them into the trap of believing them, how they would go and negotiate with them, and they would take their money and then give them food and say, you're fine, everything's, and the people are thinking, if they were going to kill us, they would just kill us. They wouldn't take our money and give us food in exchange. So they're not going to kill us. Okay. And you lead them to the point where you're going, hey, we got to get out of here today. We got to get out of here because the Russian troops are coming over the hill, and we've got a place down here where we've got schools, factory jobs for all the men. The women will stay at home, the kids at schools. And so just if your fathers board your people on the trains, please get them on. And peacefully they did. It was, you lie.
Yeah. So I think that was profound. And even though you're not an expert per se on anything, it's like your superpower is noticing things like that,
thinking through it.
Thinking through it. It's like we have to advance the level of thinking that has been done for people. And it seems like that is a big part of what your superpower is. I know we're running short on time. There's another little element that I want to just kind of ask you. It's kind of like a little bit of a curveball, but you brought up comedy, and I wasn't planning on talking about this, but I never really noticed the parallel because between what you do, like your superpower and comedy, but they are the same thing. It's noticing the thing that most people don't pay attention to, but it like happens to everybody. Is you're also hilarious on stage, and you've always been so funny, and it's like it helps a lot to be funny in the speaking world. So like if you had to teach comedy, or if there was something where it's like somebody was not funny, do you feel like you were just born with it, or is there something that you have learned in a way that's like practical that anyone could take to become funnier in their writing and in their speaking?
Yeah, I think you can learn to do it. I think now, as far as the speaking goes, there are so many things that are skill sets, okay, within that. But there's kind of a talent thing too, as far as, but that basic talent, just being able to talk is that talent, okay? But everything after that is a skill that you add on to it. And the funny part is not to tell jokes. Comedians don't tell jokes. you do material, you come up with observations. And so if you narrow it down and look at where are these things all coming from, they're coming from who is aggravated by this? What have we missed? What is the exaggeration of this? And what if I dialed in really closely on this? There's basically 4 different things. There's some offshoots from those, but you don't talk about the exaggerations. You don't talk about a guy who's 6'5". You walked into the gym and I'm playing basketball against a guy who's bigger than Sasquatch. This guy is like 11 feet tall. It's a funnier story, and everybody knows he's not 11 feet tall, but it's a funny story. It's exaggeration, and then the, there's so many ideas of what have we missed? Okay. I used to do a bit about, when, and I would get into it by saying something about, wow, did you hear in Texas, they did another like execution there, and the prison systems, and they, how they do it in Texas, don't you? They do it with a lethal injection, which is a shot. That's basically what it is. I mean, you grow up, you're terrified of shots, and now they're executing with shot. But I always wonder, when you execute somebody with a shot, do they still rub the alcohol on? Like, we don't want to infect you, we just want to kill you.
Oh my gosh.
No, it's just a thought process of an observation and dialing into something that everybody's seeing. But, and another way, Rory, too, is what is the opposite of this? What is the opposite of this? So those are just, so basically, if you just kind of like go, okay, notice the things that frustrate you, and then kind of work, like just you kind of work on that a little bit, or right, because you think about those. Am I the only one? Am I the only one seeing this? And then and then you're telling, and people go, yeah. How many of those are there, right?
Well, I never made that connection, but that makes so much sense. It's just like you're a noticer. Like, as it turns out, like that's what I think, Andy Andrews, part of your superpower, which makes you funny and profound and insightful and intelligent, is you notice things that are of value to other people and that are entertaining to other people. So
got to be a little entertaining so they will listen long enough to figure out what's valuable.
Yeah. But maybe there's not as much randomness as one might think on the surface to all the various things that you've talked about. That's
right. And here's a great, I mean, you didn't ask this, but this is one of the best things I ever took from comedy and taking it into a speaking career. And that is, people will look at comedians they love and go, it's just like, that came out of nowhere, man. It's just so spontaneous. It's just unbelievable. People used to say that about Robin Williams. And Robin did have a lot of spontaneity, but that was only because he was allowed it. But it wasn't, I mean, in a typical performance, it might be, I don't know, 8 or 9 or 10% maybe spontaneous. But it's like, this is not spontaneous. On the Tonight Show, we saw him do this 5 nights in a row at the Comedy Store before he did it on the Tonight Show. And so what you're wanting to create is the illusion of spontaneity. You want to create the illusion of it. And so, and I use this in my speaking a lot because I tell people, we're just having a conversation here. And I'm not really doing a speech. We're just kind of, because if I was doing a speech, man, I'd have to be nervous. because you would be demanding that I be incredible. And I already know that I'm not. And so, let's just kind of have a conversation. And in fact, we'll just pretend we're in a big living room and having a conversation, and I'll go first. So do this kind of thing. But what I'm saying about creating the illusion of spontaneity that I use a lot in speaking is I will create a situation. I know where I'm going. Now, the more it looks like, and you've seen me, Rory, on stage, people go, he's kind of nuts. I mean, it's like, this is the ADD poster child. I mean, and I know that, I understand, but I want them to think that, because why do people go to bull riding? Why do people go to NASCAR? It's like, you can't take your eyes off of it. There might be a wreck here any moment. Okay. And how many speakers have you listened to is like, they're just bored out of their minds. The information may be incredible, but if you haven't got something, and so what I want to do is I want to create something where the audience is involved with it. I know where I'm going. I'll give you an example. I used to do a routine. In fact, I heard it the other day on Sirius XM. So I haven't been booked as a comedian for years, and every day I'm on Sirius XM comedy channels. And but I heard this one on Sirius XM the other day, and I was like, wow. I used to do this routine about Lassie. Remember and you're so young, I don't know if you remember Lassie.
Vaguely, yep.
Yeah, but so Lassie and Timmy, and I used to do this bit about Lassie, but rather than saying, like most people would go, hey, do you remember Lassie? You remember Lassie from television? Wasn't it funny how Lassie would do that? I mean, that's what a lot of people would do. Okay, but what I want to do is I want to say, so maybe we're talking about television or something, or some comment about television, and go, man, when I grew up, we had great television shows. I mean, I wonder, we had animal shows. Animal shows, do they have animal shows now? I don't even know if they have. You remember, I mean, you look like at my age, we had like Gentle Ben and Flipper and Rin Tin Tin and Fury the horse, and invariably somebody's going to go, Lassie, Lassie. Remember Lassie? Remember how Lassie would, and she'll come across and you go, yeah, Lassie would. But see, I do my bit, and the audience is going, dang, man, somebody just said Lassie, and the dude does 4 minutes on it.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. It's the illusion of spontaneity.
Well, you've gone far with this simple skill and trait of noticing. And I think that's been super insightful for me. Hopefully for the people watching, is just like the power of tuning in to what are the things that other people aren't seeing, and then developing those, whether it's for entertainment or is for insight. That's a super powerful lesson, and we just appreciate you so much, and we wish you the best, and hopefully we'll see you back here again sometime. And
thank you, buddy. Anytime you ask, I'm with you.
So Andy, where do you want people to go if they want to learn more about you, stay connected with you, and all of the stuff that you're up to?
Well, they can meet me at Publix. I shop at Publix for groceries, so you find more about me at Publix. I have a podcast too. It's not as big a deal as yours, but it's called The Professional Noticer, and we do it every week, and we answer questions and laugh, and I have a great time. But The Professional Noticer is my podcast, and then we're also doing stuff with Wisdom Harbor and AndyAndrews.com. So,
well, that's awesome. As it turns out, that's a good title for your podcast. It's not as much randomness to Andy Andrews as one might think, and you are a professional noticer. Thank you for showing us what that looks like a little bit behind the scenes, and keep making us laugh, man. Keep inspiring us. We love it, and we appreciate you so much.
Thank you, buddy. Honored to be here.